Hello again everyone, I'm Synth. Welcome back. The most recent season of Torchlight has been here for nearly a month at this point. One of the more popular builds has been Rehan's Savage Charge. If you are a long-time player of Torchlight, this should come at no surprise, as this build in particular has always been quite popular and it's easy to understand the reasons behind that. This build uses Savage Charge as the vector to create as many instances of burst as possible for massive damage. Burst itself is an exclusive ability only available to Rehan 1 and damages things in a small AoE when triggered. These two skills in tandem allow us to scale our damage incredibly high, while still leaving space to add good defensive layers through the usage of support skills like Guard and Blinding. Without any further ado, let's get into the character proper. For your hero trait, you are looking at using something like this. For this build, there is little variation possible on the hero trait itself. Nevertheless, let's cover the options we take. Starting with the level 25 and 60 traits. Both of these are mandatory, with the level 25 one giving us additional burst damage scaling with our level, and the level 61 allowing us to support burst itself with 2 support skills, as well as giving us some rage generation on kill and some additional melee damage. For the support skills, for burst, opt for steamroll and increase critical strike damage. If you are still leveling or your crit strike chance is still not up to par, you can easily swap crit damage for melee knockback. For our level 45 trait, we go with Frenzy Furious, granting us increased critical strike chance based on our rage, as well as additional damage whenever we land a critical strike. At level 75 we take Tunnel Vision. This trait will reduce our active attack skills damage by a substantial amount, and in trade, massively boost the damage our bursts do. We cap it off with Reverberation at level 90, granting our Savage Charge a 50% chance to trigger bursts on critical strike. This 50% chance increases to 100 whenever this occurs during Berserk. With these 5 traits, we are able to dish out massive amounts of damage with every single burst, while also sustaining bursts indefinitely when paired with the right relics and memories. So let's take a look at those now. For your relic, look for mods that boost the amount of rage you have, or give you flat increases to physical damage, or additional damage. For the memories, you will need one memory that grants you rage on critical strike. This will allow you to sustain Berserk. After that, on your other memories, look for maximum rage increases, additional melee damage while Berserk lasts, and additional attack damage per rage point you have. Really quickly, if this video has been helpful so far, consider subscribing to the channel, leaving a like, help me out grow the channel further. Thank you so much, let's get on with it. To check out the full passive trees, have a look at the builder in the description. As an overview, we take God of War, Shadow Dancer, and finally Warlock. Overall, look for maximum life, damage increases in the form of both flat damage, percentage increased damage and critical strike chance, cooldown recovery, and fervor effect. For the big impact nodes, in God of War, take Brutalize for the massive increase to physical damage, and Instant Smash for the ability to surpass the need for physical penetration. If you don't yet have a pair of gloves with Fervor, Endless Fervor is the superior choice here. Keep in mind, later on you will want to swap to Instant Smash. In Shadow Dancer, we take Blunt for the same reason we took Brutalize, providing us a massive amount of physical damage increase. After that, we take Hair Trigger, making our Fervor effect provide us a big amount of additional damage. Finally, in the Warlock tree, we take Indifference, giving us a great boost to our cooldown recovery speed, as well as taking Dirty Tricks, to surpass any need to invest in ailment chance and giving us a big damage increase the more ailment we apply to the enemies. For your 6th link, we don't actually care for the damage of Savage Charge, Therefore, we use it as a method to get as many defensive layers as possible and to maximize the amount of bursts we can trigger. For that reason, we run increased critical strike rating, harden and guard for defense, mark for increased damage of our bursts, and finally blinding. On our potion, we run auto charge for the generation in boss fights, and whatever other supports you find more comfortable, being it doesn't run out when you're full life, or just increase movement speed after you use your potion. For both Fixate and Bull's Rage, we run the same supports, Well Fought Battle for the increased effect, and Self-Sacrifice for the permanent uptime in boss battles. Finally, our curse setup is the Reign of Malice, Abysmal Hatred, and an extended duration, linked to the physical curse. This guarantees that it has 100% uptime comfortably, and you can use it both during single target and AoE. For our auras, we run Summon Flame Spirit for the additional crit, linked to Superpower, and Protection Field for the added transfer of damage to the minion. We also have Acuteness, Imbue, linked to Imbue buff, and finally Fearless, linked to Concentrated and Selfishness. For our gear, we run a 4-piece set of the newly added set bonuses, providing us with both rage generation, cooldown recovery, and resistances. The easier setup to get this includes helmet, chest, belt, and boots. We also run a unique amulet, and we have a couple options here. We can go for the easily found Chain of Resistance, providing us with decent amounts of health, as well as increased damage when we haven't killed anything recently. Our other option is Vortex Heart, providing a significant increase in damage, but it's harder to find, providing you don't just buy it off the auction house, of course. For your gloves, run a pair of gloves with Fervor. Every other affix here is flexible. You can focus on more damage or defenses depending on your needs. For damage, look for critical strike damage and flat added on the prefixes. For defenses, focus on armor, life, and resistances. On the rings, look for melee damage and crit mods for offensive stats. For defensive stats, aim for life and whatever resistances you are missing. Your weapon has a myriad of good mods that you can get. However, getting open wounds as a suffix will significantly boost your damage by a big amount. Outside of that, double damage, critical strike damage, area damage, physical damage, and gear physical damage are all great stats to get. And that is pretty much it, guys. Outside of candles and slates, which I opted not to cover simply because these are pretty personal and I didn't use any that was particularly significant or build defining, so I'll leave that to your discretion. Just keep in mind that you want similar modifiers to everything else that we discussed. Physical damage, things like tenacity chargers are also pretty good, so keep that in mind. But nothing is mandatory in those specific slots to make the build work, as you've seen in the display at the start of the video. With that said, thank you so much for watching, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys later. Bye bye.